I still remember our first day very clearly. Our first day of university and the first day of a degree that barely existed, BITLASI, the Bachelor of Transformational Leadership and Social Impact. Back then it was uncharted territory. No alumni to ask, no stories to rely on, just a brochure, a vision, and a big question mark whether this would become even an official degree. And yet, at the time, 44 of us showed up anyways. We stood in the classroom on that day, strangers, connected only by curiosity and a leap of faith. Our first introduction to each other wasn't through names or handshake. It was through objects, things that we were asked to bring to class that somehow represented who we are. We had song notebooks, headphones, tortilla blankets, easily one of the most unconventional ways I've gotten to know people, and yet somehow the most honest. And then, after those introductions, we were led outside to the backyard space behind campus. There they handed us gardening tools, like actual shovels, gloves, the full kit, along with a single seed.
They did. And that day, I remember I was given an onion seed. What I didn't know was that the nature of the degree, the transformational side of it, was hidden in plain sight. That day, in that seed. Because an onion is a perfect symbol of transformation. Layered, complex, and shaped underground before it's even seen. Onions only grow under very specific conditions, and so do people. So today, let me share with you a story on what it takes to grow an onion and how BITLASI created those very conditions for us. It all starts with the soil, a place to root yourself that allows you to grow even when you don't know how. We were placed in completely different environments. First, we went to Berlin, where we explored the city's complex history from its concentration camps to its role today as a European startup hub. The year after, we would end up in Shanghai, in China, standing in the biggest import and export fair in the world, negotiating in a different language, and even getting taught Kung Fu by school kids in the countryside. In all of these experiences, we were constantly tackling social challenges, working with startups, and facing real-world constraints. That was our soil. Uncertain, intense, but very real. And we also had sunlight, real exposure to leaders from all around the world, people who came to the classroom not just with slides, but with real-life stories. Like Usman Umar, who came from Ghana to Spain by walking and now dedicates his life to helping others. Or Elizabeth de los Pinos, who cured eye cancer. Because in that sunlight, we began to see ourselves, not just as students in a classroom, but as members of a society. And in every talk, there was the realization that we too could make a real impact.
A seed doesn't grow in isolation. It needs a garden, because real transformation happens in proximity. If there's one thing that I'll miss the most from this chapter, is sharing my daily life with such an unbelievably driven and diverse group of people. I mean, seriously, back in my small Italian hometown, people did one thing at a time. You either studied, you worked, or maybe you played football on Sundays. That was the limit. And then I joined this program, and suddenly everyone's living 3 lives at once and doing it well. People were part-timing at venture capitals, already grinding in consulting or real estate. Well, we even have someone that already sold his own startup before finishing high school. True machines. But it wasn't just side jobs. Passions here turned into actual crazy side projects. We had people launching DJ associations. Others brought hundreds of kilos of supplies to Moroccan children through charity races. And even someone that fearlessly fought to save the ocean. And then there's Marceau. Every winter weekend, this man would drive with his car from Barcelona to Lille in France, a 12-hour drive, to expand his sustainable Christmas tree delivery business, dressed as an elf, a full-on green elf. In a place like this, how could you not be inspired to push harder? How could you not want to improve yourself just to keep up with the chaos and brilliance all around you? This garden wasn't just about its neighbors. It was full of wild, beautiful memories. Not just the big projects or crazy ideas, but the small things too. The things that you take for granted when you're in the moment and miss the most once they're gone. Like Juan, who humbly started every single question in class with, "Sorry for my ignorance," and then proceeded to give us absolute wisdom. Or Angie, always 2 steps ahead, helping everyone stay afloat. Or Nico Guti, who somehow managed to break his shoulder every second month and still juggle 7 side projects like nothing ever happened. Because in the end, all of these interactions, the laughs, the weird moments, the unexpected help, the daily chaos, they were the rain. And this kindness, support, motivation, the laughs, this was all our rain that all of you, my dear classmates, provided.
Every garden needs caretakers. These are tutors, mentors, professors, program managers, people who didn't hand us answers, but better questions. We study business, yes, but also technology, programming, philosophy, acting, music, and art. And the aesthetic community wasn't just helping us build our skills, they were also supporting our personal development. And the truth is, onion seeds don't need grand gestures, just someone who shows up. Because people don't transform when they're pushed, they transform when they feel safe. On the first day, we were asked to bring an object that represented who we are. It seemed like a small task, but it made us pause. Think about what makes us unique, what we bring to a group. And then something unexpected happened. When you see that no one else brought what you did, you stop comparing. And you realize that what makes you different is exactly what makes you valuable. And that's what we did again and again in BITLASI. We learned to be part of a group without losing who we are. We didn't have to blend in, we just had to bring what we had. And for me, the moment I understood this fully was in China. Remember the Kung Fu session with the kids? Well, there was this little girl who stayed with me the whole time. And we couldn't speak the same language, I didn't teach her anything, I didn't do anything special, but at the end, she gave me a gift, a bracelet. And I didn't understand why. I hadn't done anything for her to care about me. But at that moment, I felt accepted. And that's when I realized people grow into who they're meant to be when they are seen, accepted, and believed in. Because a seed already holds the information into what it can become. But when someone trusts in its unfolding, that's when growth begins. And that was BITLASI. Because this isn't just a story about 38 students doing 4 years. It's a story about what's possible outside the classroom, in families, friendships, companies. What if we just took one moment and change how we see the person next to us? Not with expectations, but with deep acceptance for who they are and how far they've come. That's what we're really celebrating today. So today, we stand here, layered, complex, and yes, if crying, it's because of the onion. But overall grateful for the environment that nurtured us and for an amazing group of people that reminded us that when you look at someone with deep acceptance, you don't have to help them transform. You just wait and see it happen. Thank you very much.